by, all stations. Stand by. Okay, folks, got a special silent key here, and I say this with a very, very heavy heart. Don Ray Butch Staffey, call sign Whiskey Delta 8, Juliet Hotel, Lima. Departed the world and the airwaves down here as we know them, December 23rd of this year, just a couple of days before Christmas. He was a long-time ham radio enthusiast, was in it for over 45 years. He actually got me started in ham radio when he retired from CS6 Railroad, and helped me get my technician's license. And this was shortly after he moved from his home in Ohio back to his birth home, and early days stomping ground down here in McCreary County, where he spent the last approximately 17 years here, doing the retired life. Anyway, he passed away Saturday, and was surrounded by his wife and family and friends. And he wanted me to pass along a special message to you folks a little bit later during the silent key. He had a lot of radio friends, made a lot of contacts all over the world, a lot of radio friends in this generalized area. And hardly ever would he miss a Thursday night wide area repeater net. And that being said, I'm going to break for just a second, give a chance for the repeater to quieten down. Anyhow, doing these silent keys and stuff is one of the most difficult things that you will go through as an net control station. Myself and Mike, KE4YRI, my illustrious hero up in Shelbyville, and Otis, Whiskey 4IOD, and even Cousin Buddy, when he was around, we had to do it. It's just part of the net and part of life. So just bear with me, and we'll try to give WD8JHL a pretty good send-off. Don Staffey, WD8JHL, was my best friend and had been for approximately 20 years. We traveled a lot. A few years ago, we went out west to see a cousin of his that had cancer and was going to pass away soon, and got to see a lot of sights. And like I said, we did a little bit of traveling together. We made it down to NASA in Houston that same trip, Huntsville, Alabama, to NASA down there, and we enjoyed a good 2 weeks out on the road together, with me doing 99% of the driving. He went to sleep all around St. Louis. Next morning, woke up, he was in South Dakota. So it made for a long Friday night, and by the end of the day on that Saturday, we were sitting out Mount Rushmore, and he slept pretty much most of the way. A few machine gun shoots together up around, between Shepherdsville and West Point, Kentucky. One in particular that he always liked to go to is probably the in Huntsville and make the Big South Fork Radio Club meetings. And then later on, his health got a little bit worse. Well, and of course COVID come along. We didn't make too many radio club meetings together, but we went over and picked up the one that was started over in Wayne County a couple of times that I'm still a member of over there. So the last couple of years was really rough on Don. Don had his ham radio license for over 45 years. I tried to get a definitive date, but the FCC don't go back that far on the records I was able to find. But it does show where he moved down from Ohio and transferred his license. He moved back down, 2006. I met Don in 2002 or 3, I believe. And we kind of looked after each other over the years and looked out for each other over the years and went that way. But he helped me get my ham radio license shortly after he moved back down here, and he wouldn't stop there. He just wasn't going to let it go. I was busy dispatching at a 911 communications center. Next thing you know, he's got me on the wide area repeater net doing these nets, and I've been doing them, I guess probably 15, 17 years now. I don't know for sure how long, but it was shortly after I got my technician ticket that he had me on here doing these nets with cousin Buddy and Mike, and at that time we had another one that was in there, net patrols, that we was doing rotating. So we do about one a month apiece, and the thing was, there were so many of us in there doing it that you got rusty about every time it come your time to do it again. So hopefully I've greatly improved over the years. Got a lot of people started down the ham radio track, stirred the bunch up down here. He wasn't going to leave them alone until he could get as many as he could get on the radio down here. KF4GUI, Woody was in there, and he was tapping his key that he had strapped to his leg everywhere he went. And Woody was active, and Don and Barb, Woody, and I think Woody's wife Ellen, they took a little trip and went a few places. He was a hammered on wheel all the time, hammered on Tim and Leroy and John. I can just keep going down the list. Paul, Julian, Jr. It just went on and on and on and on. Now Don was known to try to stir up a little hate and discontent just for fun. He'd look for ways to get old Tim, and old Tim get him back. That was Don. A lot of fun. And we had us a watchdog down here named Randall Gilreath. He was a watchdog, and he was ready to slap your wrist, and he was funny. The two loved each other to death, but boy, they could sure get into it. You'd have had to know them both, and Randall Gilreath passed away here, I believe it was early on last year. I did a silent key for him also, and he was a good friend. But that's the way Don kept things going all the time, and he was good at it while he was able to do it. I'm going to read a little excerpt here that it's on the McCreary Funeral Home website if anybody would like to go and print a copy of it. It's kind of got it's got a little bit of Don's history in it, but I'm going to go ahead and just read a small part of this. He did have a special message that me and him had talked about, and it's one that everybody that's been affiliated with ham radio at one time has heard. And the folks this neck of the woods, they use it all the time. Still use it. It's a common saying, but it comes from his heart, and this is the same way he wanted to leave things. So let me read this. Don Ray Butch Staffey departed this life on December 23rd, 2023 at his home in Clark Hollow community of McCreary County, Kentucky. Don passed away peacefully, surrounded by his family and friends. Don Ray Butch Staffey was born in Scott County, Tennessee, and had attained the age of 77 years and 11 months at the time of his departure. Don was raised in the Flat Rock community of McCreary County, which is just north of Whitley City. Break. Don enlisted in the United States Navy when he was 17 years old. He was honorably discharged after faithfully serving his country as an Englishman's mate. I said Englishman, but it's actually Engineman's mate aboard the USS Proteus AS-19 during the Cold and Vietnam Wars, and he was stationed overseas in Guam. Don was an avid ham radio enthusiast who was licensed as an extra class operator by the FCC with a call sign of Whiskey Delta 8, Juliet Hotel Lima for approximately 45 years. Don was also an ARRL member, and he had many and close and distant ham radio friends worldwide, and leaves behind this special message. Carry on, folks. Carry on. In his absence. Don retired from the CS6 Railroad as a conductor and returned to his home in McCreary County in 2006, where he lived and enjoyed his senior years in peace and tranquility on a little wildlife reserve and farm that he put together here, that him and Barb had purchased a few years prior to his retirement. Don was an avid traveler. He enjoyed it more than anything other than ham radio. I think that was probably his second biggest hobby that he had, was traveling. And wherever he went with ham radio. A lot of times he would make contact, and I recall this. I was with him. We were out in Arizona and New Mexico talking all the way back to Williamsburg, Kentucky, to KB4PTJ on his big setup. So when Don was out and about going to Alaska and places like that on his own, he never left home without a way to communicate with his friends back here as he made his travels. And enjoy taking Barb, his wife, with him on most of the trips. They might go down to Florida. He went there quite a bit. Him and Barbara saw many rocket launches from NASA. They watched the space shuttle take off. They watched other rockets take off. He did his best to take videos, and he also liked going to Alaska. So he was an avid traveler. Don is survived by his wife of 50 years. That's Barbara Lawson Staffey. She was born and reared over around Welch, West Virginia, around the Bluefield community, from a family of coal miners, just like we've got around here where I'm at. She also was big in ham radio, and they communicated a lot together, given the distance. He would go to the top of the mountain up here in McCreary County, and on a VHF radio talk all the way back to Fayette County, or Fayette, Ohio, which is up in the northwestern corner of Ohio. Now, he's doing this on 2 meters, mind you, at the highest point here called Stevens Knobs here in McCreary County. And he's talking to Kilo Alpha 8 Delta Foxtrot Bravo. That's Barb's call sign. And every day when he finished, when he was working as a train conductor, he would holler that same call sign, Kilo Alpha 8 Delta Foxtrot Bravo. This is WD8JHL. He's heading home. John leaves behind 6 great children, fantastic people. People has certainly been my honor and privilege to meet and become friends with and talk to over the many, many 4th of July family reunions that they've had. I also had the pleasure of going, my wife, as a matter of fact, went with me. And we went over to Bluefield, West Virginia to Barbara's family reunion over there. We enjoyed that very much. But they've got six wonderful children together. They've got 13 grandchildren and 12 great-grandchildren and several nieces, nephews, and cousins. It was certainly a good, large family to carry on both of the family names. And it's just fantastic. You get a couple people together that with each other for 50 years. Next year, me and my wife will celebrate 50 years also. So at this point in time, I'm going to leave the rest of this out. He does have a couple of sisters that also survive him. And one of them was real good about coming and caretaking. So that's about as much as I can really stand to say about Don right now. Like I said, I'm saying all this with a heavy heart, and I'm trying to remember the humor that me and him had shared. That was one thing. It was just all the time looking to cut him down, and he was always looking for a comeback. And he always said, always saying, he needs something done, let George do it. And I did. So I'm going to break right there for just a short pause, and then we're going to do a silent call for WD8JHL. WD8JHL. This is Kilo India 4 Whiskey Mike Papa for the Thursday night wide area repeater net. Are you out there, Don? WD8JHL, this is Kilo night. Wide area repeater net. Negative contact. It's Whiskey Delta 8, Juliet Hotel, Lima. May you rest in peace, sir. You were my best friend. And everyone on the Thursday night Wide Area Repeater